So I began with the question of whether the data would show the same thing that my experience felt. And I started collecting data in 2012. And in 2017 presented my data publicly for the first time at Gallup's Global Summit. And the answer to the question of whether the data says that what's right with people who struggle with substance use disorders is powerfully divergent from traditionally successful people. It's true. I believe that the classification system that we currently use within behavioral health care is going to be wholly upended with the release of ICD-11, which is an updated coding system which will include, for the first time, complex post-traumatic stress disorder as a diagnosis. It's also known as developmental trauma disorder. And when we think of PTSD, we think of war. We think of 9/11. We think of single acts of violence, extraordinary harm that cause flashbacks, nightmares, things like that. CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, is different. And it is the result of ongoing trauma, abandonment, neglect, beginning in childhood. It's commonly misdiagnosed as ADD. There was a study done with the CDC and Kaiser Permanente called the ACEs study. And what they found is that individuals with an ACE score of 4 or higher on a scale of 1 to 10 have increased risk of suicide, depression, substance use disorders, heart disease, and live on average something like 20 years shorter than people who have not experienced toxic chronic stress. With the introduction of that diagnosis, I think what we're going to see over the next decade is a rethinking of everything we think we know about the things that are impacting young adults, children, and teens. As a culture, we're very deficit focused. We look at things that we're doing wrong and we try to fix them. With the formal introduction of the CPTSD, what we're going to see is we're going to have a different view. The lens through which we see the challenges faced by young people is going to change. And if we as a community take the time to ask the questions that will help us understand the experiences that create the inability to pay attention, the need to medicate when we're talking to them, and we're looking at their challenges or their behaviors as things that need to be fixed. And we give them a medication to address the symptom. We're telling them in that first message that taking something to change the way they feel is the quickest route to relief. Kids are very smart. Very, very smart. So underestimated. And I believe that as young people, we're very able to identify the subtext of messages like that. Here, take this. You seem very distracted. Take this. You know, when we're telling children or young people that, one, what they're doing is wrong, that their behavior is bad and it needs fixing. The second message that we give them then is that they need to fall into line with the way that they are expected to behave or present. And the fastest route from A to B is here, take this. I know unequivocally that there are benefits to be had from medications. I believe wholeheartedly that they have entered the realm of our default, where it's the first place we go.